Ruben Amorim blocks Mainoo's Napoli move despite limited playing time. The full story. Welcome back to United Daily Updates, your #1 trusted source for everything Manchester United. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, now is the perfect time to do so. We bring you daily news, honest analysis, and reliable information about all things Red Devils. No clickbait. No made-up rumors. Just real facts that you can trust. Subscribe now and join thousands of passionate United fans who rely on us every single day. Today we need to talk about a major story that broke recently involving one of Manchester United's most talented young players. Mainoo. The 20-year-old midfielder who burst onto the scene last season and looked like he would be a key player for years to come. Well, it turns out that Napoli want to sign him in January. And himself is apparently open to the move. But there is one big problem. Ruben Amorim does not want to let him go. This is a fascinating situation that raises so many questions. Why would Napoli want Mainoo so badly? Why is the player himself interested in leaving? And most importantly, why is Amorim blocking the move when he barely plays Mainoo anyway? Let us dive deep into this story and try to make sense of what is really going on. The hook that changes everything. Imagine you are Mainoo right now. You are 20 years old. You are talented. You are an England international. Last season you were playing regularly for Manchester United and people were calling you one of the brightest young midfielders in the country. You had the world at your feet. Now fast forward to today. You are barely playing. You sit on the bench most weeks. When you do get minutes, it is usually just a few at the end of games that are already decided. Your World Cup dream is slipping away because you need regular football to stay in the England squad. You are frustrated. You are worried about your career. Then a top club comes calling. Napoli. A team competing for the Serie A title. A team in the Champions League. A team that wants you to be a key player, not a backup. They are offering you everything you want. Regular football. Big games. A chance to shine on a big stage. A chance to save your World Cup dream. You want to go. Your agents are working on it. Even your former teammate Scott McTominay, who joined Napoli and loves it there, is telling you it is a great move. Everything is lining up perfectly. Except for one thing. Your manager says no. Ruben Amorim does not want to sell you. Even though he does not play you. Even though you are wasting away on the bench. He says no. How would you feel? Frustrated? Angry? Confused? This is the exact situation Mainoo finds himself in right now. And it is a situation that could have major consequences for everyone involved. Who is Mainoo? Before we go deeper into this transfer saga, let me remind everyone who Mainoo is and why this story matters so much. Mainoo is a 20-year-old midfielder who came through Manchester United's youth academy. He is local. He is homegrown. He represents everything United fans love about the club. A young player from the area who made it to the first team through hard work and talent. Last season, Mainoo broke into the first team and quickly became an important player. He was not just getting minutes here and there. He was starting big games. He was playing in the Premier League regularly. He was showing maturity and quality that was way beyond his years. People were genuinely excited about him. His style of play is perfect for modern football. He is comfortable on the ball. He can pass. He can carry the ball forward. He can defend when needed. He has good positioning. He reads the game well. He does not panic under pressure. These are all qualities that top clubs look for in midfielders. His performances were so good that he earned a call up to the England national team. At 19 years old, he was playing for his country. That is a huge achievement. That is the kind of thing that shows you have serious talent. England do not just pick anyone. You have to earn it. And Mainoo earned it. So heading into this season, everyone expected Mainoo to build on last season's success. Everyone thought he would be a regular starter for Manchester United. Everyone assumed his development would continue on an upward path. But that has not happened. Not even close. What has gone wrong this season? This season has been a nightmare for Mainoo. And I do not use that word lightly. It has genuinely been terrible for him in terms of playing time and development. Since Ruben Amorim took over as Manchester United manager, Mainoo has barely played. He is not starting games. He is not even coming off the bench that often. He sits in the stands or on the bench watching other players get opportunities while he gets nothing. It is hard to watch for anyone who cares about young talent. The numbers tell the story. Mainoo has gotten very limited minutes under Amorim. When he does play, it is usually just garbage time at the end of matches. 5 minutes here. 10 minutes there. That is not enough for any player, let alone a young player who needs consistent game time to develop. This lack of playing time is not because Mainoo has been playing badly. It is not because he has had attitude problems. It is not because he has been injured for long periods. It is simply because Amorim has decided to use other players instead. That is his right as a manager. But it creates a really difficult situation for the player. For a 20-year-old, regular football is everything. This is the age where you need to be playing every week. You need to be learning. You need to be developing. You need to be getting experience. Sitting on the bench does nothing for your career. It does not help you improve. It does not help you stay sharp. It does not help you impress your national team manager. And that brings us to the World Cup issue. There is a World Cup coming up. England will be there. Kobbie Mainoo wants to be part of the England squad. Last season, he was in the picture. He had a real chance. But if he is not playing club football regularly, why would England pick him? They will pick players who are playing every week and performing well. That is just common sense. So Mainoo finds himself in a horrible position. He is at a club where the manager does not seem to rate him or want to use him. His career is stalling. His World Cup dream is in danger. And he is only 20 years old, so he cannot afford to waste a whole season sitting on the bench. Something has to change. And that is where Napoli comes into the picture. Why Napoli want Mainoo so badly? Napoli are one of the biggest clubs in Italy. They won Serie A recently. They compete in the Champions League regularly. They have passionate fans. They have a great stadium. They are a serious football club with serious ambitions. And they want Kobbie Mainoo. According to reports from Illinois Mattino, which is a reliable Italian newspaper, Mainoo is a top priority for Napoli in the January transfer window. Not just someone they are vaguely interested in. A top priority. That means they really want him. That means they are willing to put serious effort and possibly serious money into making this happen. Napoli sporting director Giovanni Manna has been in frequent contact with Mainoo's representatives. That shows this is not just rumors or speculation. There are real talks happening. Real interest. Real movement behind the scenes. When a sporting director is personally involved and making regular contact, you know it is serious. So why do Napoli want Mainoo so much? What do they see in him? First, they see a young talented midfielder who can improve their squad. Napoli are competing on multiple fronts. They need depth. They need quality. They need players who can contribute right away. Mainoo fits that profile perfectly. He has Premier League experience. He has played at a high level. He knows what it takes to perform in big games. Second, they see value. Mainoo is not going to cost £100 million. He is not an established superstar who will break the bank. But he has the potential to become a really good player. For Napoli, signing someone like Mainoo is smart business. You get quality at a reasonable price. And if he develops well, his value could increase massively. Third, they see someone who fits their style of play. Napoli like to play good football. They like to keep possession. They like midfielders who are comfortable on the ball and can move it quickly. Mainoo's technical ability and passing range would suit their system perfectly. He would not need months to adapt. He could slot in and contribute quickly. Fourth, they probably see the Manchester United situation as an opportunity. They know Mainoo is not playing. They know he must be frustrated. They know he might be open to a move. When a talented young player at a big club is not getting game time, that creates an opportunity for other clubs to swoop in. Napoli are trying to take advantage of that opportunity. Fifth, they have Scott McTominay at the club already. McTominay joined Napoli from Manchester United and has been excellent for them. He loves it there. He has settled in well. Having him at the club makes it easier to convince other United players to make the same move. McTominay can tell Mainoo what the club is like, what the city is like, what Serie A is like. That insider knowledge is valuable. In fact, reports suggest that McTominay is actively advising Mainoo about the potential transfer. He is using his influence to tell Mainoo that it would be a good move. That Napoli is a great club. That Serie A is a good league. That the football would suit him. When a former teammate who you trust is saying these things, it carries weight. It matters. Why Mainoo wants the move. Here is where it gets really interesting. According to the reports, Mainoo himself is totally open to joining Napoli. Not reluctant. Not uncertain. Totally open. That tells you everything about how he feels about his current situation at Manchester United. Let me be clear about something. If a player is happy at their club, if they are playing regularly, if they feel valued and important, they do not become totally open to leaving. They tell interested clubs thanks but no thanks. They commit to their current team. The fact that Mainoo is totally open to this move tells you he is not happy at Manchester United right now. And honestly, Can you blame him? Put yourself in his shoes. You are 20 years old. You broke through last season. You showed you can perform at the highest level. You earned an England call-up. You thought this season would be your time to establish yourself as a key player. Instead, you are barely playing. The new manager does not seem to fancy you. You are watching your career stall in real time. Of course you would be open to a move. Of course you would listen when a top club like Napoli comes calling with an offer of regular football. That is not being disloyal to Manchester United. That is being smart about your career. That is prioritizing your development and your future. The report specifically mentioned that Mainoo wants to guarantee himself a protagonist role in the second half of the season. Protagonist role means being a main character, being important, being a starter, playing regularly. That is what he wants and needs. And he cannot get that at Manchester United under Amorim. But he can get it at Napoli. The World Cup factor is huge here. Mainoo knows that if he sits on United's bench for the next 6 months, England will not pick him for the World Cup squad. Why would they? Gareth Southgate or whoever is England manager by then will pick players who are playing every week. Players who are sharp. Players who are in form. Not players who are getting 5 minutes here and there. But if Mainoo goes to Napoli and plays regularly in Serie A and the Champions League, suddenly he is back in the picture. Suddenly he is showing England that he deserves to be considered. Suddenly his World Cup dream is alive again. For a young player with international ambitions, that is incredibly important. There is also probably a part of Mainoo that just wants to feel valued. Every player wants to feel like their club wants them. Like their manager believes in them. Like they are important to the team. Right now at Manchester United, Mainoo probably does not feel any of those things. But Napoli are making him feel valued. They are telling him he is a priority. They are showing him he matters. That has to be appealing. Scott McTominay's role in all this. The Scott McTominay angle to this story is fascinating and deserves its own section. Because McTominay's experience at Napoli is directly influencing Mainoo's thinking about this potential move. Scott McTominay joined Napoli from Manchester United in the summer transfer window. At the time, many United fans were sad to see him go. He had been at the club for years. He was a hard worker. He gave everything on the pitch. But United needed to sell players and McTominay was one of the ones they let go. Well, it turns out that move to Napoli has been brilliant for McTominay. He has been excellent there. He is playing regularly. He is scoring goals. He is a fan favorite. He looks happy and settled. The Italian football media love him. The Napoli fans sing his name. It has worked out perfectly for him. Now imagine you are Kobbie Mainoo and you are seeing all of this. You see your former teammate thriving in Italy. You see him playing every week. You see him happy and successful. And then he starts telling you that you should do the same thing. That Napoli is a great club. That the move would be good for you. That it worked for him and it would work for you too. That is powerful stuff. When someone you know and trust tells you from personal experience that something is a good idea, you listen. You take it seriously. It is not like some agent or stranger telling you things. This is a guy who was in your position, made the move, and is now telling you it was the right decision. The reports specifically say that McTominay is using his influence to advise Mainoo about the transfer. That word influence is important. McTominay has influence with Mainoo. They were teammates. They probably became friends. They probably still talk regularly. When McTominay says something about football or career decisions, Mainoo listens. This is actually a pretty common thing in football. Players who have made moves to clubs often become unofficial recruiters for those clubs. They tell their friends and former teammates how good it is. They encourage others to join. It is not official. It is not part of their contract. But it happens naturally because they are happy and want to share that with people they know. For Napoli, having McTominay there is a huge advantage in trying to sign Mainoo. It makes the whole thing less scary and uncertain for a young player. Moving to a new country is always daunting. Moving to a new league where you do not speak the language and do not know anyone is really hard. But if you have a friend already there who can help you settle in, it becomes much easier. That is what McTominay represents for Mainoo. So why is Amorim blocking the move? Here is where this whole situation becomes really confusing and frustrating. Despite barely playing Mainoo, despite the player wanting to go, despite Napoli being serious about signing him, Ruben Amorim has reportedly vetoed any January sale. He does not want Mainoo to leave. He is blocking the transfer. This makes absolutely no sense to most people. And I include myself in that. Why would you keep a player who you do not use? Why would you stand in the way of a young player's development and career? Why would you block a move that seems to make sense for everyone involved? Let me try to think through possible reasons why Amorim might be doing this. Because there must be some logic to it, even if we do not understand or agree with it. First possibility, Amorim might see Mainoo as an important squad player even if he is not starting right now. Maybe he thinks United need depth in midfield. Maybe he thinks there will be times later in the season when he needs to use Mainoo. Maybe he does not want to weaken the squad in January when they still have lots of games to play. That would be a logical reason, even if it is frustrating for Mainoo. Second possibility, Amorim might not have the midfield replacements lined up yet. If Mainoo leaves in January, United would need to sign another midfielder. Maybe they do not have targets identified. Maybe they cannot get anyone in the January window. So Amorim is keeping Mainoo just in case, even if he does not plan to play him much. That would be poor planning, but it could explain his thinking. Third possibility, Amorim might genuinely rate Mainoo and think he will come good eventually. Maybe he just thinks the player needs more time to adapt to his system. Maybe he plans to use him more in the second half of the season once other players understand the tactics better. Maybe he sees something in training that makes him want to keep the player around. That would be the most positive explanation. Fourth possibility, Amorim might just be stubborn or making a power play. Maybe he does not like the idea of players agitating for moves. Maybe he wants to show that he is in charge and makes the decisions, not the players or their agents. Maybe he is sending a message to the rest of the squad that you do not just get to leave when things get tough. That would be understandable from a management perspective but harsh on the player. Fifth possibility, United as a club might not want to let Mainoo go because they see his long-term value. Even if Amorim does not use him much now, the club might think he could be valuable in the future. Homegrown players have value even beyond their ability. They help with Premier League squad registration rules. They are assets on the books. Letting a homegrown talent go to a rival European club could look bad for the club's reputation. Sixth possibility, there might be disagreement between Amorim and the United board about this. Maybe Amorim has said no but the club is still considering it. Or maybe the club has said no and Amorim would actually be fine with letting him go. We do not know the internal dynamics. Transfer decisions are often more complicated than one person saying yes or no. Whatever the reason, the effect is the same. Amorim's veto is proving highly damaging to Napoli's hopes according to the reports. It is a major obstacle to the transfer happening. And it creates a really messy situation for everyone involved. What this means for Kobbie Mainoo. Let us talk about what this situation means for Kobbie Mainoo himself. Because ultimately, this is about a young player's career and future. And right now, that future looks pretty uncertain. If the transfer does not happen and Mainoo stays at Manchester United, what does that mean for him? Well, based on how things have gone so far this season, it probably means more of the same. More sitting on the bench. More limited minutes. More frustration. More watching his development stall while other players get opportunities. That is not good for any player, but it is especially bad for a 20-year-old. This is a crucial age for development. This is when you should be playing regularly, learning, improving, building experience. Every month that Mainoo sits on the bench is a month of development lost. You cannot get that time back. It is gone forever. The World Cup dream also takes a big hit if he stays at United and continues not playing. England are not going to pick a player who is warming the bench at his club. They just are not. There are too many other midfielders who are playing every week and performing well. Why would they pick Mainoo over those players? They would not. So if Mainoo stays, he probably has to accept that his World Cup chances are basically over for this tournament. Maybe he makes the next World Cup in 4 years. But this one is likely gone if he does not get regular football between now and the summer. There is also the mental and emotional side of this. Imagine wanting to leave for good reasons, having a top club want you, having everything lined up, and then being told no. That has to hurt. That has to damage your relationship with your manager. That has to make you question whether you have a future at the club. It is hard to stay motivated and focused when you feel trapped somewhere you do not want to be. Some players can handle that situation. They can keep their heads down, work hard in training, wait for their chance, and eventually break through. But many players cannot. Many players become disillusioned. Their form suffers. Their attitude changes. They stop caring as much. That is a real risk here with Mainoo. On the other hand, if the transfer does happen and Mainoo goes to Napoli, his situation improves dramatically. He gets to play regularly for a top club. He gets to compete in Serie A and the Champions League. He gets to work with good coaches and play with good teammates. He gets to restart his development under better circumstances. His World Cup dream stays alive. If he plays well for Napoli in the second half of the season, England will definitely take notice. They will see him performing at a high level in a good league. They will see him handling big games. They will see he is ready to contribute. That gives him a real chance to make the squad. His confidence would probably return too. Right now, not playing must be crushing his confidence. But if he moves to Napoli and starts playing well, that confidence comes flooding back. He remembers that he is a good player. He remembers what he is capable of. That mental side of things is so important for young players. And his relationship with Scott McTominay probably strengthens. They could be teammates again. They could help each other. McTominay could show him around Naples. Help him settle in. Make the transition easier. Having that support system in a new country is invaluable. So from Mainoo's perspective, the transfer makes perfect sense. It is clearly the better option for his career right now. But unfortunately, he does not have the power to make it happen. That power lies with Manchester United and Ruben Amorim. And they are saying no. What this means for Manchester United. Now let us think about what this situation means for Manchester United as a club. Because this is not happening in isolation. This is part of a bigger picture about how United handle young talent and squad management. First, keeping Mainoo when he wants to leave and is not playing creates a bad atmosphere. Other young players see this. They see that even if you break through and show talent, you can still get frozen out. They see that the club might block your career development for their own reasons. That is not the message you want to send to your academy players. You want them to believe that hard work will be rewarded. That talent will be used. That the club will support their careers. Second, it damages United's reputation with agents and representatives. If word gets around that United will block reasonable transfers for players who are not even playing, agents will be more cautious about sending their clients there. They will worry that players might get stuck in bad situations. That could hurt United's ability to sign top young talent in the future. Third, it raises questions about Amorim's man management and squad handling. Why is he not playing a talented young player? Why is he blocking a move that seems reasonable? Is he too stubborn? Is he making emotional decisions instead of practical ones? These are questions United fans and observers are asking. And they are fair questions. Fourth, there is a financial aspect to consider. If Napoli are serious about signing Mainoo, they would presumably pay a decent fee. Let us say £20 or £30 million. That is real money that United could use to strengthen other areas of the squad. By saying no to the transfer, United are saying no to that money. Maybe they think Mainoo's long-term value is higher. But maybe they are wrong. Fifth, United risk losing Mainoo for free or for a much smaller fee later. If this situation continues and Mainoo runs down his contract or forces a move in the summer when his value has dropped, United could end up losing him anyway. Just in worse circumstances. Sometimes letting a player go at the right time is smarter than holding on too long. Sixth, this creates squad discontent. When players see teammates being treated in ways they think are unfair, it affects team morale. Other players might sympathize with Mainoo. They might think the club is handling this badly. That can create divisions and problems in the dressing room that are hard to fix. On the flip side, maybe United are right to keep him. Maybe Amorim has a plan that we do not see yet. Maybe Mainoo will start playing more soon and this will all make sense in hindsight. Maybe keeping squad depth is more important than we realize. Maybe there are factors we do not know about that justify the decision. But from the outside looking in, blocking this move seems like bad squad management. It seems like United are prioritizing some theoretical future scenario over players' current development and well-being. And that is hard to justify. What this means for Napoli. For Napoli, this situation is obviously frustrating. They have identified a player they want. They have made contact. They have got the player interested. They have done everything right. And now they are running into a wall because the selling club says no. According to the reports, Amorim's veto is proving highly damaging to Napoli's hopes. It is a major obstacle. That suggests Napoli really want this to happen but are finding it very difficult to make progress. When a club's own manager blocks a sale, there is not much the buying club can do. You cannot force someone to sell. Napoli will probably keep trying. They might increase their offer. They might try to negotiate different deal structures. They might try to convince United that it is in everyone's best interests. But if Amorim has genuinely put his foot down and said no way, there might not be much Napoli can do. They could try waiting until the summer. Maybe by then the situation has changed. Maybe Mainoo has forced the issue more strongly. Maybe Amorim has changed his mind after seeing Mainoo continue to not play much. Maybe United's stance softens. The summer transfer window offers more time and more opportunities to negotiate. Or Napoli might have to move on to other targets. If it becomes clear that Mainoo is not available at any price in January, they cannot waste the whole window chasing one player. They need to strengthen their midfield. If they cannot get Mainoo, they will have to find someone else. That is just smart planning. From Napoli's perspective, this must be disappointing. They thought they had found a great opportunity. A talented young player who is available, who wants to come, whose former teammate is already at the club. Everything lined up perfectly. Except for the manager saying no. That is bad luck for them. The role of player power in modern football. This situation with Mainoo also raises bigger questions about player power in modern football. How much say should players have in their own careers? How much should clubs be able to control where players go and when? Some people think clubs should have all the power. The club pays the wages. The club owns the contract. The club should decide if and when a player leaves. If a player wants to go but the club says no, tough luck. That is what contracts are for. That is what you signed up for. Deal with it. Other people think players should have more control. They argue that these are human beings with careers and lives and families. They should have the right to choose where they work, especially if they are not happy or not playing. Keeping someone against their will when they have a better opportunity elsewhere is cruel and counterproductive. It hurts everyone. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Clubs need to protect their interests and plan for the future. But they also need to treat players fairly and support their development. Finding that balance is difficult. Every situation is different. In Mainoo's case, I lean towards thinking he should be allowed to go if he wants to and if there is a good offer on the table. He is not a superstar who the team relies on. He is not playing regularly anyway. There is a top club willing to take him and give him opportunities. Blocking that seems harsh and unnecessary. But I understand others might see it differently. What is clear is that this tension between club power and player power is going to keep happening. More and more players, especially young players with good agents, will push for moves when they are not happy. More and more clubs will try to resist losing talent even when they are not using that talent. It is an ongoing struggle in modern football. What happens next? So where does this situation go from here? What actually happens with Kobbie Mainoo and this potential Napoli transfer? The January transfer window is coming up. That is when this will all play out. Napoli will probably make an official offer if they have not already. United will have to respond. Amorim will have to make a final decision. Mainoo will have to decide how hard he wants to push for the move. Several scenarios are possible. Let me walk through them. Scenario 1, Amorim changes his mind and allows the transfer. Maybe after thinking about it more, he realizes keeping an unhappy player who he does not use makes no sense. Maybe United's board convinces him to accept a good offer. Maybe Mainoo or his representatives make a compelling case. Whatever the reason, the veto is lifted and the transfer happens. This would be the best outcome for Mainoo and probably for everyone. Scenario 2, the transfer does not happen in January but everyone agrees to revisit it in the summer. Maybe United say we will not sell you now but if you still want to go in 6 months we will consider it. That gives Mainoo some hope. It gives him something to work towards. He knows that there is a possible exit route if things do not improve. Scenario 3, the transfer does not happen and Mainoo is stuck at United for the rest of the season. He continues getting limited minutes. His development stalls. His World Cup dream dies. His relationship with Amorim deteriorates. This would be the worst-case scenario for the player. But it is very possible based on the current reports. Scenario 4, Mainoo starts playing more for United. Maybe Amorim's plan all along was to use him more in the second half of the season. Maybe injuries to other players force him to use Mainoo. Maybe Mainoo impresses in training and forces his way into the team. If this happens, the whole transfer saga becomes less urgent. Mainoo might even decide to stay if he is playing regularly. Scenario 5, other clubs get involved. Maybe Napoli are not the only ones interested. Maybe other Italian clubs or clubs from other leagues also want Mainoo. That could change the dynamic. It could create a bidding situation that forces United to take the offers more seriously. My prediction is that the transfer probably does not happen in January. Amorim seems pretty firm in his stance. United are in a difficult season and probably do not want to weaken the squad even if that particular player is not playing much. The club will likely block it and hope either Mainoo accepts his situation or they can sell him for more money in the summer. But I could be wrong. Things change quickly in football. A few weeks from now, everything could look completely different. That is why we all keep watching and following these stories. The bigger picture about United's young players. This Mainoo situation is part of a bigger conversation about how Manchester United handle their young players. And honestly, their track record recently has not been great. Think about all the talented young players who have come through United's academy in recent years. Some have made it. Many have not. Some left and found success elsewhere. Some were mismanaged and never reached their potential. United have made a lot of mistakes with young talent. The academy at Manchester United is supposed to be one of the best in the world. They produce talented players regularly. But producing them is only half the job. You also have to give them opportunities. You have to develop them properly. You have to handle their careers with care. And that is where United have often fallen short. Too many times, United have given a young player a few games, decided they are not ready yet, and then never given them another proper chance. Or they have kept a young player around as a squad player but not given them enough minutes to actually develop. Or they have blocked transfers to clubs where the player would get more game time. Other top clubs handle this better. Manchester City loan their young players to clubs where they will play every week. Liverpool are smart about which youngsters to keep and which to sell with buyback clauses. Chelsea are ruthless but at least honest about who has a future and who does not. United seem to be stuck in the middle, unsure about what to do with their young talent. Mainoo could become another example of this if United are not careful. A talented young player who broke through, showed promise, and then got mismanaged into obscurity. That would be a waste. That would be a failure by the club. And it is starting to look like a real possibility. United need to have a clear philosophy about youth development. Do they want to give chances to academy players or not? If yes, then actually give them minutes and support their growth. If no, then be honest about it and let them go to clubs who will use them. This in-between approach where you keep players but do not play them helps nobody. What should happen here? Let me give you my honest opinion about what should happen with this Kobbie Mainoo situation. And I think many of you will agree with me. Mainoo should be allowed to go to Napoli if he wants to. It is that simple. He is not playing at Manchester United. He is wasting his potential sitting on the bench. He has a great opportunity to join a top club who will actually use him. His former teammate is there and speaks highly of the club. The move makes sense for his career. He is only 20 years old and cannot afford to waste a full season not playing. From United's perspective, what are they actually losing? A player who Amorim does not use. A player who is currently contributing nothing to the team. A player who will likely leave in the summer anyway if this continues. Better to let him go now to a club who will develop him and maybe even include a buy-back clause or sell on percentage. That way United still have options for the future. Amorim blocking this move despite not playing Mainoo makes no sense to me. If you genuinely rate the player and think he is important for the future, then play him. Give him minutes. Show him he is valued. But if you are not going to play him, then do not stand in his way when he has a chance to go somewhere else. That is just being cruel for no good reason. Some people might say United need to keep squad depth. But what is the point of depth that never gets used? What is the point of having Mainoo on the bench if he only plays 5 minutes every few weeks? That is not useful depth. That is just wasted talent. Other people might say Mainoo should be patient and wait for his chance. But he gave United half a season already. He has been patient. And the chance has not come. How much longer should he wait? Another 6 months? Another year? At what point does patience become stupidity? In my view, United should accept that this is not working out right now. Let Mainoo go to Napoli on loan with an option or obligation to buy. Include a buy-back clause if you are worried about losing him permanently.